Hey guys, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my YouTube channel MBBS Treasure. Today we are going to discuss a very important as well as interesting topic, that is isomerism in carbohydrates. In this topic, today we will discuss what is isomers and what are the different types of isomerisms that are shown in the carbohydrates. In my previous video, I have said this that there are aldoses and ketoses, and example of hexoses is glucose as well as fructose. These two structures have the same molecular formula, but they have different structural formula, because in glucose it has aldehydic group, so it belongs to aldoses, and in fructose it has ketonic group, so it belongs to ketoses. So now you can understand what is isomer. That is, it is having same chemical formula or the same molecular formula with different structure or different arrangement of atoms or spatial arrangement of structures. There are two types of isomerisms that are shown in the carbohydrates. They are structural isomerism and stereoisomerism. Then again, structural isomerism is divided into three types. First one is functional isomerism, then second one is chain isomerism, and the third one is positional isomerism. What happens in these three? First of all, the functional isomerism. Functional isomerism means the two compounds or the two monosaccharides will be present and their functional group will be different, but they will having same molecular formula. For example, glucose and fructose. Glucose has the formula C6H12O6 and fructose has C6H12O6, but the difference is the functional group, that is aldehydic group. Here is aldehydic group and next one is ketonic group. You can see the structure here, that this is a glucose and this is the fructose. In this glucose it has the aldehydic group that is present in the first carbon atom, and in the fructose it has this ketonic group that is present in the second carbon atom. These two have the formula C6H12O6, but they differ in their structure, that is functional groups. Then comes the chain isomerism. Chain isomerism, that the isomers different are in arrangement of carbon atoms. What does this means? This means the bonds that will be present in the total monosaccharide or carbon atom will be of different. Example like maltose and isomaltose. Here the glycosidic bond in maltose is present in between first carbon and fourth carbon. Both of them are glucose molecules, but in isomaltose they have the bond that is first carbon and sixth carbon. Okay, so the glycosidic bond is alpha 1,6 bond in isomaltose and alpha 1,4 bond glycosidic bond in maltose. This is the difference of chain isomerism. Then comes the positional isomerism. What is positional isomerism? Positional isomerism means the same carbon chain, there will be same carbon chain but differing in position of substituted group. If there will be a substituted group that will be present in the monosaccharide, then it will be present in a different carbon atom. Like here example is glucose 1,6-phosphate and glucose 6-phosphate. You can see the structure here, that this is glucose 1-phosphate and this is glucose 6-phosphate. One means here is the first carbon atom and here it is the sixth carbon atom. The phosphate group that is present here in first carbon and here in sixth carbon, but they have same molecular formula but different arrangement or spatial structure. Then comes the second type of isomerism that is shown in by the carbohydrates, that is stereoisomerisms. Stereoisomerisms particularly involves the different spatial arrangement, the arrangement of atoms in space. Then Stereoisomerism is divided to optical isomerism and geometrical isomerism. Here I have not shown the geometrical isomerism because most of the carbohydrates do not show the geometrical isomerism, because geometrical isomerism is related with double bonds. Then optical isomerism. Optical isomerism is again divided into enantiomers, epimers or diastereomers, then anomerism. What do you mean by optical isomerism? Optical isomerism means there will be a compound or a monosaccharide that will be optically active and it will be showing isomerism. Then first of all we should know what is optical active. The compound is said to be optically active if it will be having a chiral carbon atom. When the compound is said to have the chiral carbon atom, it means the carbon atom is bonded with 4 different type of atoms or molecules. If it will be X, Y, Z, and here it will be W. Okay, these are the 4 different molecules that the carbon will be bonding with. Then it is said that this is the optical or chiral carbon. The capacity of optically active compound to rotate the plane of polarized light to right or left are termed as optical isomerism. Now we know what is optically active compound, then what should be optical isomerism? The same optically active compound, if it will be shown or a beam of plane polarized light, a beam of plane polarized light will be passed through a solution of optical isomer. This is the beam that is passed through the solution of optical isomer. If it rotates the plane polarized light in a rightward direction or in a left towards the left, then we can say these 2 structures will be the optical isomers. And it is said that if this solution or the optical isomers rotate the plane polarized light in towards the right direction, then it is denoted to be positive or small d, and it is known as dextrorotatory. If the plane polarized light will be rotating towards left, then it will be denoted by negative sign and it is denoted by small letter L, and it is known as levorotatory. So now we know what is dextrorotatory and now we know what is levorotatory. So now we know what is optical isomerism. So we should know what are the different types of optical isomerisms. First is enantiomerism. Okay. Enantiomerism means the isomeric compounds that will be present, it will be differing in their penultimate carbon atom, and the penultimate carbon atom will be taken as a reference point. And the enantiomers will be having 2 types of enantiomer structures or isomeric structures, that one is D structure and other is L structure. The enantiomers are termed as D or L form depending on the spatial arrangement of hydrogen and hydroxyl group, functional group, that will be present on the penultimate carbon atom. The D and L structure depends on hydroxyl group and hydrogen group that will be present in the penultimate carbon atom. If the hydroxyl group is present on the right side, then it is termed as D isomers, and if the hydroxyl group is present on the left side, then it is termed as L enantiomers. And these D and L structures are the mirror images of each other. Mirror images means the reflection will be as equal with the object, real object. Okay. So here it's an example in which you can see it is the structure of glucose, in which this is called D glucose and this is called L glucose. Why it is called D glucose? Because here's the hydroxyl group that is present in this penultimate carbon. This is 6th carbon and this is 5th carbon. So it is the penultimate carbon. Here it is 5th carbon, so it is penultimate carbon. Here hydroxyl group is present on the right side. If it is present on the right side, then it will be D structure. so it is a D-glucose. And if the hydroxyl group is present on the left side, then L structure, so it is a L-glucose. What is important in enantiomerism? Most of the monosaccharides occurring in mammals are D stereoisomers. Okay, most of the monosaccharides that are occurring are D series, but there are also some important like L series, like L-iduronic acid, L-xylulose, and L-fucose. L-fucose, it is found in glycoproteins, and these L series are naturally occurring. Then D and L notation is not about the indication of optical activity. You have to remember this thing. Okay, D and L notation. There is a small d and small l notation. There is a positive and negative notation, and there is a capital and small capital L notation. This D and L stands for dextrorotatory and levorotatory, and this plus stands for dextrorotatory and this minus stands for levorotatory. But this capital T and capital L stands for enantiomers. You have to remember this, and this depends on hydroxyl group on the penultimate carbon atom on which side it is present. An optical isomer can be designated as D plus, D minus, L plus, L minus. Here plus means dextrorotatory and minus means levorotatory. Then we are going to talk about the racemic mixture. What do I mean by racemic mixture? If D and L isomers are present in equal concentration, then the mixture is known as a racemic mixture or DL mixture. This does not exhibit optical activity. You say because if there will be D and L structures will be equal, then they will cancel out each and there will be no optical activity. It is said that the racemic mixture do not have optical activity. What are the examples? Thalidomide, ibuprofen, cetirizine. So next we are going to talk another type of stereoisomerism that is coming under optical activity, that is epimerism and diastereoisomerisms. In epimerism and diastereoisomerisms, the epimers contains the isomers that differ in the configuration around a single chiral carbon atom, and the epimers will not be the mirror images of each other. This is the example of D-glucose. D-glucose, D here means the OH bond is present at the right side in the penultimate carbon atom. Penultimate means fifth carbon atom of glucose. Okay. So from glucose, how the epimers of D-mannose and D-galactose structure you can remember. Listen, D-mannose is the C2 epimer and D-galactose is the C4 epimer of glucose. Just remember this. By this you can remember the total structure of glucose, mannose and galactose. How? D-glucose, you know the structure. I have said you that in C3 you have to remember conventionally that OH is present in the left side and H in the right side. In D-mannose, it has the same structure as the D-glucose, but there is only one difference around a single chiral carbon atom, that is C2. Here is the C2 chiral carbon atom. Okay. So it is the structure of mannose, in which you can see there is the difference around this chiral carbon atom C2, and C4 epimer is galactose of glucose, that is how C1, C2, C3, C4. Here is the change, you can mark here C1, C2, C3 and C4. OH is here right side and OH is here left side. So you can remember the structure of glucose, mannose and galactose. How? Mannose is C2 epimer of glucose and D-galactose is C4 epimer of D-glucose. Okay. Then comes diastereoisomers. What do you mean by diastereoisomers? they will be the same. Epimers and diastereomers are same, but the difference in configuration around one or more chiral carbon atom. Here it was around one chiral carbon atom, but here the diastereomers will be more than one or more chiral carbon atom. So here comes one important thing, is that all epimers are diastereoisomers, but all diastereoisomers are not epimers. You have to remember this. All epimers comes under the diastereomers, but all diastereoisomers are not epimers, because epimers contains one carbon, around the configuration in change in configuration around one carbon atom, but diastereomers one or more than one. One thing is that they are not mirror images of each other, same as epimers. And example is galactose and mannose. How mannose and galactose are diastereomers of each other, because you can see the changes in two carbon atom in C2 and C4. If you will consider two carbon atoms C2, C4, there is changing. There are changes. Okay, so around two carbon atom there is change in configuration, so they are known as diastereoisomers of each other, D-mannose and D-galactose. Then comes next type of stereoisomerisms that we are going to read is anomerism. Okay, what do you mean by anomerism? The isomers will be differing their configuration around anomeric carbon atom. Okay, what do you mean by anomeric carbon atom? When the monosaccharide undergoes cyclization, then they will be forming hemiacetal and hemiketal bond, as I have said, and around there will be a formation of a new asymmetric carbon atom or a new chiral carbon atom, that is C1 of aldoses and C2 of ketoses. Okay, if you will see the structure of this glucose, here C1 glucose is a aldoses, so C1 of glucose, it will be a anomeric carbon atom when it will undergo cyclization. Okay, here you can see C1, it is the glucose example. Then under anomerism there are two types of isomers formed according to the orientation of hydroxyl group and hydrogen group around the anomeric carbon atom. What are the two types of isomers formed? That is alpha form and beta form. Alpha form when the hydroxyl group is below the plane ring. This is the example. These are the two examples of alpha and beta form of anomerism around the C1 carbon atom, in which hydroxyl group is below the plane ring, so it is called as alpha form. And in beta form, the hydroxyl group is or above the plane ring. If this is a plane ring, then hydroxyl group is present above, so it is called the beta form of glucose. In equilibrium, alpha form remains in 36% and in beta form remains 63%, and this is due to the Mutter rotation. So next we are going to read about what is Mutter rotation. Then next comes, what do you mean by Mutter rotation? This is an important part of the alpha and beta structures of isomers or anomerism. You have to remember, because in Mutter rotation what happens, the structures or the monosaccharides, they have certain rotation in optical activity that changes with the time. The spontaneous change in specific optical rotation of optical isomers with time is called Mutter rotation. This occurs due to the presence of reducing sugars in alpha and beta anomeric form. Reducing sugars means if they will be having a free anomeric carbon atom, then they will be called as a reducing sugars. For example, D-glucose exists in two anomeric forms, that is alpha and beta form of D-glucose, as I have said in the previous figure. But freshly prepared alpha D-glucose has a specific rotation of 112.5 degree, and then it gradually decreases with time and attains equilibrium of plus 52.5 degree. the optical activity changes or optical rotation changes from 112 to 52 degree 0.5 of alpha D glucose when it is freshly prepared and attains at equilibrium. Similarly, when freshly prepared beta D glucose is prepared, it has a specific rotation of 19 degree and then gradually increases with time and attains equilibrium of 52.5 degree. Here it is increased. The optical rotations increased. Here it is decreased. The optical rotation decreased. What is the reason behind this of increasing and decreasing and coming to a stable optical rotation, that is 52.5 degree? Because the alpha structure and beta structure get converts to each other and attains the equilibrium, and in equilibrium they attains 52.5 degree of optical rotation, plus means dextrorotatory. So in water, alpha gets converts to beta and vice versa. So in equilibrium, alpha is present in 36% and beta structure is present in 63%, and one remaining percent are open chain structure of glucose.